Warcraft 3, 2025. Brad Chan. I hope Brad Chan is not his real name. I do hope that. You would think that if he had any sense at all, he would not have been on the Warcraft Direct stream claiming to actually be the real person. He would have used a pseudonym. Brad Chan. And that does sound like a pretty fake name, right? Like Chan. The word Chan refers to weird women in League of Legends or something, right? I don't know. That's probably not a real name that you would want to have. So it's probably his pseudonym, which is good. It's good, Brad Chan. I can respect that, using pseudonyms. That's a good idea. Anyway, I was walking around the room today. I got up. I'm drinking European vegan juice or something. I don't know. Whatever they handed it to me. And I was walking around the room, and I was talking to Brad Chan, but he wasn't there. He wasn't there. I was just alone in the room. And then I realized I could make a video, a video message to Brad Chan. So this video is expressly for Brad Chan. If you're not Brad Chan, I don't know who you are. Why are you watching this? So I sort of like to play Warcraft 3 sometimes, but Brad Chan, he got up in front of the world and he made a statement. And in his statement, he said, if something is wrong, you make it right. If something is broken, you fix it. And when things aren't good enough, you make them better. And then my friend asked me to go play Reforged. And I use Linux computers, right? Because I actually want my computers to actually work. But I walked down the street to a ghetto shop or something. I don't know. There were these two gentlemen. In hindsight, I was thinking perhaps they were part of a government program to infect my computer. But I think that's not what it was. I've thought about this some more, and I think what happened is that I went to their store while it was closed, and they didn't have the heart to tell me. But I wasn't paying attention to that. I've been using a Linux phone, and when I say Linux, I don't mean Android. Perhaps that's actually a bad vernacular. Let me say that differently. I'm using a GNU phone. Okay, now the GNU phone, what that means is that we defeat the government. Sorry, the government is trying to defeat me with Discord notifications in the middle of my video, and that just proves their villainy. But I can show you this. This is my GNU phone. Okay, now, like any good device, it has on and off switches. These were invented by, Game Boy. I don't know if you can see these. You probably can't. This is not a very good camera. Here you go. So there's on and off switches. There's 3 of them here. They power the different parts on and off. And if you're paranoid, you can actually rip it open. You take the back off, and you take the battery out. And then it doesn't have any energy anymore. It can't tell the time. This also means it can't do Google Maps. So I don't know where I am. I have no idea. And when I went down the street to these men in the shop, and I gave them some dollars, and they gave me a Windows computer so I could play Reforged, because I was, living as a stranger in a strange land or whatever. I don't know what you call that. And I realized I didn't have Windows. I wanted to play Reforged with my friend. I didn't have Windows, but I needed to get Reforged, so I went and I did that. And I got a computer, and it's Windows, I guess. It says Windows on it when it turns on. It never asks for a password. It never asks for an install. It never asks for a user. It just opens up. It says welcome user, and it goes to Windows. I don't know. Maybe that's how they do this in other countries. That way you don't need those things. They actually were stupid all along. I don't know. Anyway, so on the weird ghetto box here, I have it. I can actually show it to you. Let me see if I can get this. Is it plugged in anything? So, okay, here you go. Oh, actually, it has some kind of security key on it. Let's not show it on the video. Anyway, it says, it's like a Raspberry Pi, but for Windows. I don't know. Anyway, so I use that. I played some Reforged on it, like any reasonable Reforged user would use. But I clicked on the custom games menu, and it kind of moved up and then down, and then it was just gone. The game just stopped. There was just no more menus. And I've had it. Okay, that's stupid, right? I mean, what is that? That's Brad Chan's life legacy right there. You hear me, Brad? That's your life legacy. You're the guy that made it that when I click custom games in Reforged, nothing happens. It just shuts off the menu or something. I don't know. Okay, Brad, when something is broken, you fix it. Well, it turns out society's broken, Brad. When something is wrong, you make it right. Well, it turns out that proprietary software is morally wrong, Brad. So, if you want to make it right, you need to get me. You need to make it that this is my GNU phone, Brad. See that? Look at that. It runs. It's the U.S. government intelligence or something on there. I don't know. Anyway, so I thought it would be a good story to tell for Brad Chan, right, Brad? What we need to do. Is this work? Anyway, all right. Sorry. What we need to do in my internet message to Brad Chan, I think it's funny, right? But it's true. It's true. Is we need to tell Brad Chan when something. This is his own words. Brad's own words. When something is wrong, make it right. When something is broken, you fix it. So, obviously, he's not going to fix the menu page on Reforged so that when you click custom games, it plays a game. So we need to go the other direction. When something is wrong, you make it right. The way to do that is proprietary software is wrong. So publish the source code of the Reforged. Preferably, actually, publishing the source code of Reforged is not good because Reforged is not good. So what Brad needs to do to make it right is to publish the source code of Warcraft 3 from about 2005, 2006. After they added the Fire Lord and the Goblin Alchemist and these other things, when the game was basically done. And that's all it needed. Everything after that is kind of a waste. There was a patch that added hash tables. I'm okay with those. But they were clearly hacked in by Activision employees. And I don't particularly need them. I could add that myself in a day or two once I had the source code. Okay, Brad? So you hear what I'm saying. Brad Chan should fix it. And that's the truth. I really do hope that his name is not actually Brad Chan. You would think he would be smart enough to do that. So anyway, yeah, I don't know. I was walking around today. I was staring into space, and I was thinking we should tell Brad to fix it. All right, Brad? Fix it. Like, just give me the source code. Just do it. Just do it. Do you understand what I'm saying, Brad? Brad, have you ever, think about this, Brad Chan. Have you ever looked in the code for Warcraft 3 at ramps? Think about it, ramps. You like ramps? I like ramps. Ramps are great. Ramps are this kind of cute idea when you have a cliff, and cliffs can go to level 1, and they can go to level 2, and they can go to level 0. And if you go above that, you get more cliffs, and it just repeats. It's like a recursive kind of function up to, about, 12 or 14 levels high of a cake. Then you can't go any higher than that. You would run out of something. I don't remember what. And when you have cliffs, you can click to make a ramp on that cliff, right? And they're constructed geometrically from a series of MDX models. They're pasted in a little wall. And those models have names that define the shape of the ramp, right? And so if you think about the corners of a ramp, like if you click once and you make a cliff upward, right? Brad Chan better know this, okay? Because he's Brad Chan. If you click once and it makes upward and like a cake, like a cliff, that cliff is actually constructed from 4 models, the corners of that cliff. And each corner segment has a name, and that name has 4 letters. Are you getting this, Brad Chan? It has 4 letters, and those letters are A, B, or C based on the height of the cliff. It's logical. Everything here is logical. And so if you have an A, B, C, A ramp, then that would be like 2 flat areas, a middle section, and a high up section, right? So in a similar logic, when you click once, you make a height 2 upward rod, like 1,000 needles. Like you played World of Warcraft, Brad? Okay, great. Like a needle. Sure. You do that. That would be an ACAA, like on one corner, and then like, and then you have to think about, well, do you start in the lower right like I just did? Are you getting this? Or do you see where I just went wrong? Maybe you start in the upper right. It's actually CAAA for that model. And then the next model is ACAA, and that's actually the lower right-hand corner of the upward stack. Brad Chan has the legal rights to know what I'm describing, but I don't, right? I'm a code wizard from out in the Boonies or something, Is this stolen technology? CAAC. Do you even know what that would be? If I know what that would be, am I violating Brad Chan's rights? Because when I say CAAC, I can picture a ramp that has two C's and two A's. Do you even know what I'm talking about? Anyway, those aren't ramps, those are cliffs. But I bring it up because of the understanding of ramps, right? So if I have a CAAC, you know what I'm talking about, CAAC, and I put that next to another CAAC, so that it's slightly next to it, and I put that next to a third CAAC, right? And so now we have like a wall. And I do, on the flip side, I do ACCA, right? And I have two of those. I have like walls along. And then if I want to start ramping down to the ground between those walls, what starts happening is that's where we get what is a ramp. So a ramp, where ramp is specified, it'll start to like warp the surface, and it loads a different geometry. And those geometries, instead of A, B, and C for their height, are, I believe, H and L for high and low. But it's high and low of a ramp, and the ramp is a transition. So if you have a BHLA ramp, right, then we're talking like B height, not C height, B height. And then next to that is the H, and then the L curves downward, and then the A next to it is the ground level, right? BHLA. Well, it turns out there's a third height of ramp, just like there's a third height of cliff. It's just like there's A, B, and C cliff. There's H and L of ramp, but there's also X ramps or something like that. It's the third height. It doesn't work right, Brad. It doesn't work right. The original developers discarded it because in order to construct all of the geometries of all of the ramps, you can actually figure this out, that all of the geometries of all of the cliffs, there's A, B, and C, and there's 4 different corners, right? And so it's sort of like counting in binary, but in this case, you're counting in trinary. And you can figure out counting in trinary to figure out how many ramp geometries you have to spawn to construct the art files for a Warcraft 3, right? Warcraft 3 is an idea. Humans made this up. I don't know if you knew this. Some people think that Warcraft 3 is a computer program. Those people are wrong. I've played Warcraft 3 without playing the computer program, with no Reforged, none of this other thing. I went on a Linux computer or a Windows computer or whatever. I went on a computer and I typed in the idea of Warcraft 3, right? And then I played that idea from my own mind. Okay, and how did I do that? Because H and L ramps, like I'm talking about. The problem is X ramps create too many possibilities. Like, think about it, right? So if you're counting in trinary, so you have 3 to the n, and n is 4. Do you know what 3 to the 4 is? Well, it's 27, right? Because 3 to the 4 is like 3 times 3 is 9 times 3. I'm wrong, right? You see how I'm wrong here. I was speaking in the moment. I apologize. It's not 27. 3 to the 4th power, in my mind, I was thinking it would be 27, but it's not at all. That would be 3 to the 3rd power. 3 to the 4th power is actually 27 times 3. It's the same as 9 times 9. That's 81. So off the top of my head, if I were a betting man, I would bet that there are probably 81 ramp files in Warcraft 3. Now, I didn't go and check this before I said this. I'm just speculating. But what happens when you take those 81 ramp files and you introduce H, L, and X ramps? You know? Well, it turns out H, L, and X ramps actually introduce 3 more possibilities. And so that means now you have 6 possibilities on every corner. So you can more or less convince yourself that this is going to lead to 6 to the 4th power. Now, 6 to the 4th power is actually 36 squared. I don't want to do 36 squared in my head, but I'm pretty sure that it's more than 900. And I don't think that anybody in 2002 wanted to make 900 geometric files. And so that's why after they had the ideas and after they made ramps, they just stopped doing it. And you can have ramps on low cliffs, but high cliffs are stupid, and you don't have ramps on high cliffs. So if you have the ACCA and the ACCA and the CAAC, and you make a row of those, right? And then you want to have a ramp coming down from above, just smoothly along with those geometries. The art files are actually in Warcraft 3 to do this. I think I made a map somewhere on my rewrite of Warcraft that had a ramp of this sort as a joke. You can publish it on the internet and kind of make people scratch their head when they realize there's absolutely no way they could ever even construct this thing on Warcraft 3's map editor. But if you have a ramp of this sort, the idea would be that you essentially have a very small, thin walking path, and then your walking path just comes down to the ground. And it's like impossible to do. It's impossible to describe because we only have access to H and L ramps. But the X ramps, the third level, actually exist in the Warcraft data files. They're just turned off because in some configurations we don't have the geometry because nobody wanted to make 900 geometric files. They did the math on that and realized it's a waste of time. What if Brad Chan turns that back on so I can have X ramps again for the entertainment value and want to have like a little spindly path? You ever think about that, Brad? When something is wrong, is Brad Chan going to make it right? Are you going to do that, Brad Chan? You're probably not. I bet he's not. Is this bad that I don't have good faith in Brad Chan? I don't even think he knows what I'm talking about. I mean, you guys know he's not really going to watch this, but what is... Am I even right about H and L and X? Do we remember these letters correctly? Wait a minute. I got a computer. Let's ask the computer. Now, do you know, how does Brad Chan ask his computer this question? So I'm on Linux, so I can just use grep. So I'm just going to go into the game data here, which I have, in a folder, in a file manager, like a reasonable person. I suppose Brad probably has that in like a Git repo. And this is where I should probably be recording my screen so you guys can see what I'm doing, but I don't intend for this to take very long. This is, what is this? Doodads, terrain, cliff. I remember exactly where it is. I'll always remember that. Doodads / terrain / cliff. Inside of there, cliffs, plural, sorry. You'll notice there's a separate folder called cliff trans. These are the ramps. It's a transitional shape. And it's L and X and H. I was right about this. Now, what I don't really know from looking at the file names, am I right in remembering that X is the third level correspondent to C? But I would think so. Surely that's what that is. That would make sense. Because otherwise it's high and low. High and low ramps, and then X is like discarded ramps, like the ones that only a hacker can use an X ramp, right? It's X. It's like, I don't know. I don't want to talk about X anymore. It's like Twitter sucks. So I think you get what I'm saying, Brad Chan. I think Brad Chan knows what I'm saying. The X ramps. When it's broken, are you going to fix it? You're not really going to fix it, Brad Chan. Don't tell me that you're going to fix X ramps. Don't do that. A blanket statement, I don't know, when it's broken, I fix it. No, you don't. You don't know a thing about X ramps, Brad Chan. And you don't want to know a thing about X ramps, okay? Because Brad Chan, in his mind, what really matters is whether he should train his Blade Master at 15 seconds or 17 seconds, depending on which strategy he's going to use. Wow. That's some kind of rocket science, Brad. So, I mean, okay. All right. That's the world we live in. The governor of Blade Master seconds. But, frankly, I just want to open the source code and just, change it. I had a good idea the other day, actually. I was going to do this. I was thinking to myself, you take Warcraft 3, and usually the command card to build units, like structures, is a 12 slot grid. It's 3x4, right? I was going to change this to a 15 slot grid, 3x5. I've done this before for fun in some of my videos. Recompile the game with a 3x5 grid. Go to the items, recompile that as a 3x3, 9 item grid, and then now we can have more buildings. So here's my thought process. try to style it a little bit more like a hybrid of Warcraft 3 and 2. Somebody was asking for, a troll type of guy was asking for this on Reddit. So I thought I would create it and publish it for my entertainment value, just to make fun of him. So, we have maybe Warcraft 2 style tech tree. If you have this 3x15 grid in there, you'd actually have space to put like a shipyard. You change the tech tree up a bit. It could be kind of fun. Blend that with some art assets from the old Reign of Chaos beta. I was drawing some art assets. I was making I took the dragon roost. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but the dragon roost in Warcraft 3, it exists, but nobody really uses it because it doesn't render correctly. It doesn't have a birth animation. I added the orc birth animation so you could construct it, and I added some chains with some big, wood beams tying the dragon down. I made the dragon green and red like Warcraft 2. I thought that was really fun, and I thought this will be cool. We'll have dragons like Warcraft 2, and we'll have boats. And then the other thing I was going to do, across the top bar, you've got gold and lumber and upkeep stuff. I'm kidding, right? Gold and lumber and food and upkeep. You guys know this. It's a test. Gold and lumber and food and upkeep. And I thought to myself, I don't like upkeep anyway. We'll delete upkeep and we'll have gold and lumber and oil on food. How about that? That would be pretty cool. You put oil in there. Or better yet, even funnier, 1920 by 1080 monitor, you can just add another one of those little black areas, right? So we could have gold, lumber, oil, food, upkeep. Why not? Okay. So I was going to do that. It's about as easy to do these things as it is to describe them. And then I was I got distracted, I think. But I'm the only human on Earth who can do that, right? Because Brad Chan can't do it because monetization tells him not to. And nobody else can do it because they don't have the code. There's a mod called Chronicles of the Second War or whatever, where they try to make Warcraft 2 and Reforged. And I'm friends with this guy. He lives on an island somewhere, I think. And I think I heard they found him because he's one of the last people on Earth who can actually emotionally convince themselves to develop things inside of Reforged. And I think he actually constructed for them or something like this, or maybe it was a different person, but somebody like that was making the oil, so they actually had oil as a number. And then what they do, Reforged was made by promising everything to everyone and then failing to deliver it, obviously. But as a part of promising everything to everyone, they had this idea that we should be able to play Chinese mods to try to make the Chinese people go away, because Warcraft actually works in China because they all just disassemble the game. They don't give a crap. They don't have laws. And so their Warcraft 3 actually works. And so when somebody asks them, well, how does it work? It's like a language barrier. They kind of just wave their hands and say, well, we just hacked it all. And so they have this idea that basically you hack Warcraft 3 and you use the menu systems to spawn menu components into the screen, almost as if you had an API for changing the way that the screen looked during play. And somebody does that, and they spawn these components and kind of push you around and hack it and try to force in oil in Chronicles of the Second War so you can see it, right? Now, anybody who's curious about whether that's a good idea or not can simply think about, well, what happened on the main menu of the actual game? Well, even Brad Chan refuses to change the menu of the game back to its original system. He has to use a web page for the menu. And you know why? Because he doesn't know how Warcraft 3 menus actually work. It's still there in the code, but he wouldn't want to use it because he wouldn't be able to upgrade it. He wouldn't be able to reforge it. Just like the original Reforged team. Nobody knows how Warcraft 3 menus actually work. And so they had to overwrite it. And that's happening at the same time when Reforged was made as that menu system that nobody knows how it works, except 2.5 billion Chinese people who disassemble the game or whatever. Only those people, the Chinese people, knew how to do the menu system. So they took the menu system, they shoveled it into the API for the UI on the screen, and then they replaced it with a web page. And they didn't even put their web page technology in to replace the menu system technology used to make buttons and custom apps. So if you can imagine the headache that the guys making Chronicles of the Second War are going through, right? When I rewrite the game in Java, when I do my own thing, right? These ideas, these mythological powers, the pretend notion of, well, I'm just gonna, slide the food over by one and add oil for my own entertainment, right? I could do that. That would take me like an hour or something. But the guys on Chronicles of the Second War, the same idea, the same task they're trying to accomplish. They probably have to like shell out money to this guy on some island on the other side of the planet, and then have him work for 3 weeks before he's going to be able to use the menu system that only the Chinese people and some guy named Tassian understand on the internet. And the end result of that is, at the end of someone somewhere is probably gonna, if I make a video like this, they're gonna see that video and they're gonna tell me, no, you're wrong. You don't need the Code of Warcraft to fix it. Look at these people. They made Chronicles of the Second War. They have oil, so you're not the only human on Earth who can do that. Not even Brad Chan is the only one. Anyone can do it. They just Chronicles of the Second War it. Woo! No, it's stupid. I don't want to do that anymore. Okay, I already did that when I was a kid, and now I know better. And someday, once Brad Chan realizes that it is a moral wrong that he is preventing me from adding Naga and then having those Naga harvest oil with a Naga oil rig for some reason that doesn't even make any sense. But maybe I want to do it. I should be allowed to do it. It's a free country, right? Maybe? I don't know. Come on, Brad. Just do it. Just do it. Just fix Warcraft 3 once and for all, Brad. And you know how to do that. Okay? Because here's what happens. Once Brad publishes the source code, we're going to be adding Naga oil rigs. I got some friends of mine. I do have days I get demoralized by people like Brad Chan. But given 2 or 3 years, it's basically inevitable. There's going to be oil. There's going to be a fork of the game that has the oil. Well, if we can get Brad Chan to publish the source code. And we are going to have Naga oil rigs. We will do that. I don't know why, but that's just... There's at least one guy who will always do that. And there's going to be Naga in an oil rig platform. And while that's happening, this is the real problem. While that's happening, this is why Brad has to be afraid. It's really sad. There are these sick human beings who play a game called Dota. I never really tried playing that map. I played it once, and they told me to stop feeding, and I stopped playing it. I don't know. Anyway, there are these sick human beings who play something called the Dota map. And if you give them the source code, what they're going to do is compile a version of the source code where not only can you not have Naga oil rigs, but you also can't even play a different map. They want to force everyone. It's like what is it? It's like bad government. We force everyone. You can only play one certain map. And that map would be called Dota, and it would have 3 roads. They love 3 roads. That's the rules. And then once they've put everyone in jail to play 3 roads, they will make you pay $10 with your credit card in order to change the color of your sword. And they'll make 20 different colors, and each color costs $10. And it's like the homeless people in the street, right? Like, they're just doing that because they couldn't think of anything better to do with their lives. But they will do that. And I think that's who Brad Chan is afraid of. If I had to guess, that's who Brad Chan is afraid of. But why do we live in a world that's dictated by the equivalent of homeless people? You know what I mean? Why are we afraid of them? Why don't we defeat them? Do it, Brad. Just defeat them. Just make them go away. And one of the best ways to do that, I think, is when we need to get Brad Chan to publish the source code of Warcraft 3, Reign of Chaos, Frozen Throne, 2003 game, but not Reforged. Think about it. If he does that, Reforged has the skins technology. It was developed with the thought in mind of selling different colors of sword for $10. But the old game doesn't do that. It was made by some, dudes in an office in 2003. So why not publish the code of the old game? And there's going to be one of those hacks. He's going to make, the 3 roads game where you have to wave your credit card to change the color of the sword. But what we need to do as a society is laugh at that guy who does that, right? Don't give him your time and attention. And then it might be okay. I think it might be okay. There will be people who build Naga oil rigs. And then we can force Grubby to figure out whether you should build a Naga oil rig at 2 minutes or 3 minutes. I have no idea. But think of the content that would produce. I have no idea. It would be interesting. It would be interesting. I don't know. You know, one of the modders created a map. I don't know if he paid Grubby or what, but there was a time where Grubby was playing like the Naga for fun to try to promote this idea. Wouldn't it be cool if there was Naga in Warcraft 3? And like the dude who made the Naga, I've seen this guy. He was an active guy making custom tech trees on Warcraft 3 for like 10 years. He's so demoralized by Reforged. Like, he shoves this thing in Grubby's face to try to promote it. And I don't even think he spelled Murgle right in one of the tooltips. You know, it was like Murgle or something. I don't know. You know, what are we doing? What are we doing, right? If we can let people get their gumption back and be like, hey, you are allowed to make Naga oil rigs again, okay? Or maybe even orc oil rigs. I don't know. If we can allow the gumption and stop running society based on those human beings who have to sell different colors of swords on a 3-road map as their only income because they just, I don't know, they couldn't do anything else. Like, if we could just stop bringing ourselves to that lowest common denominator and instead let ourselves do whatever we want, I think that would really fix it. You know, Brad Chance said, if something is not good enough, if things are not good enough, you make them better. I think it's time to do that. I think it's time to do that. So that's my message to you, Brad Chan. I think that we do need to make things better. We do. I should probably live my life better than I have. You know, there's a lot of things we could do better, but come on, Brad. Fix it. Now.